going to get started. I am Heather Kelly. I'm marketing consultant with the SBDC. Welcome. For those of you who are becoming familiar with the SBDC, we are the SBDC at Rockford Chamber. Rockford Chamber is our sponsor. And we are part of a network in Illinois and really throughout the nation that provides confidential business guidance, training, and other resources to startup and existing small businesses. So I'll start off with some of my SBDC colleagues that are on the call. If you want to wave, first is Edward Caceres. He's our director, and he specializes in business planning, websites, video consulting. So Edward, you want to wave to the group? And then we have Mike Mastriani, who is also a consultant. He specializes in human resources and also business planning. And then we have Vince Shirelli, who also specializes in business planning and accounting needs. So if you or anyone that you know has a small business and needs assistance, please feel free to contact us. So we have a big turnout, as I mentioned before. Please mute yourselves throughout the call. We will take questions in our chat, and then once Katryna is finished presenting, we will go through the Q&A that way, since we have a lot of people attending the call. I'll start by introducing Katryna Kirby from Social Cat Company. She is our guest speaker today. She's going to talk about how to write engaging content for your social media and PR audiences. Social Cat Company is a boutique agency specializing in social media management and public relations. So with that, Katryna, I will hand it over to you.
Sounds good. Thanks so much, Heather, and to the whole SBDC. And thanks to all of you for attending. So today, like Heather mentioned, going to talk to you about writing engaging content for social media and PR. And so that's kind of what I hone in on at Social Cat, and kind of how I started my company. And social media and PR are my two niches that's just kind of how I've grown up in my last 10 years of marketing experience, what I've learned to love and what I've learned to just kind of do a lot. And so that's what I hone in on for my own company, and they really tie in together a lot, and I'll talk to you about that. But first off, a little bit about me. I was born and raised in the region. I went to Byron, graduated from Byron High School, went to Western Illinois University and got my degree in Recreation, Park, and Tourism Administration, which has nothing to do really with marketing. But I came back to Rockford. I thought, I'd go to Colorado and work for, I don't even know what I thought I'd do, but I'd go to Colorado and do events. And then I met my husband, who lives here in the area. And in 2007, I started my career search, obviously during like an economic, recession. But was thankful to get an internship at the Rockford Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, which focuses on tourism. And then just throughout relationship building, I went over to Muscular Dystrophy Association and kind of got some fundraising under my belt. Went to a PR firm, Chartwell Agency in Rockford, where I learned to love PR. Went to Swedish American Hospital, worked there for 5 years, just honing in on that PR and storytelling. And then I ended up at Transform Rockford. And that's where social media, I kind of really got my hands dirty in social media and did a ton of research and podcasting, and just to help elevate the brand of Rockford and what Transform Rockford was doing. And so that's kind of the last 10 years in a nutshell. And then last year in January of 2020, I decided to branch off on my own, 2 months prior to a huge pandemic. But I'm thankful that I did. And I think people are realizing that they have to be on social media more than ever. And so that's where I am today. So obviously we're talking about PR and we're talking about social media. And so I'm just going to explain PR a little bit. Public relations is the practice of kind of managing that release and spread of information between an individual and an organization in order to get that positive public perception. So it's making the media pick up a story and do a good job of telling that story out to the TV outlets and the newspapers and whatnot. And it's relying on them to share that story. Where social media is obviously a digital, technology that facilitates exchanging of information and ideas and stories. So they're a little bit different, obviously, but then the relationship between them is that they're all based on communication. And basically with social media, you get real-time messaging. It amplifies your PR message, allowing you to be stronger and more impactful than ever before. You're not just relying on the media to do something. Now you can actually share it. It's going to live longer. It's going to spread faster. It's going to reach a lot further with the help of social media. So whenever you have PR efforts, you really need to think about how can we tie those into social media. I remember the days when I was at PR Etc., which is now Chartwell Agency, the PR firm, where we'd have a really cool story and the media would come do a story on it. And we had to wait till the 5, 6, and 10 o'clock news to see kind of how they portrayed that story. And hopefully they did a good job portraying it. Where then now, fast forward, you as the business or the brand can already put that story out on your social media channels in a meaningful way that draws people in. And then the media is going to put it out on social media, and you look at all the different platforms and where your story's at and all the shares and likes and hits that you've gotten, and it's just huge how many more people it reaches. So there's just a big connection between PR and social media. So obviously, how do you write engaging content focusing on PR and social? Well, first off, it really depends on who your audience is. And that's huge. You need to know who your audience is. And obviously you can do, as a business, you probably know, yep, we need to target middle-aged folks who live in Rockford and whatnot. But now with social media, you can really dive into your current platforms and see who is following you and who is interacting. And so that's a huge thing. And just before you write that content, you need to know who you're writing it towards. So review those analytics. How old are they? Where do they reside? Which posts are they interacting with the most? Is it that simple posts about, hey, on March 2nd, we're having vaccinations? Or is it an engaging post that is talking about storytelling and talking about this individual who received their vaccination and now they can interact with their grandkids and, learn to see which post they're interacting with, and then mimic that. Find out where they're most active. Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Clearly different platforms, people interact, or there's different audiences on different platforms. Instagram, it's just a little bit younger audience, where Facebook, it's just kind of not old audience, but still the younger, a little bit more into the baby boomers and whatnot. And then look at your competitors. Obviously, by no means copy them, but just see what voice they're using, who are they appealing to, which platforms are they on, and who is their audience? What are they interacting with? Which posts are they interacting with? So step number 1 is really identifying your audience. And then 5 tips I'm going to go through right now on how to attract and draw people into your content is, number 1, truly develop your voice and stay consistent. This goes for PR and your press release writing and your interacting with the media, but it's huge on social media anymore. You needed to figure out what's your voice, kind of what's your look and brand and feel. And then you need to stay consistent, and you need to post regularly, and you need to keep that, keep posting and keep being out there to be top of mind. Really, when you do this, you're going to build trust with that follower, who then ultimately will hopefully come into your business or purchase that product. But just being consistent and having a nice look and feel is huge anymore in social media. So I think one of my clients is actually on the call right now, but Arrow Ale House out of Loves Park, I do some work with them. And this is just a way of how we're just kind of showing you a consistent look and feel by good graphics. I sometimes go in and take photos. Their staff takes photos. They try to use their iPhone. You don't have to get too crazy. get on portrait mode and take some really good graphics of what you're trying to sell or promote. And then you'll kind of see we have some fun little captions that are inviting. We use emojis. They're kind of short and sweet. They have the same kind of look and feel, the same vibe. This, obviously, there's a lot of people who go and dine in at Arrow, but they kind of attract more of maybe a younger, people who are more willing to try unique items and go to a fun atmosphere. So this is just one way that just kind of shows you developing a voice, developing that consistent look and brand, and whatnot. Number 2 is all about the headlines and pulling them in to what you're trying to say, either through your press release title or through your social media posts. And basically, headlines give them a reason to follow you. It's not just boring content of just random pictures with no headlines. When they see your stuff, they're going to know, oh, that's Arrow, or oh, that's that business. And one thing about creating engaging headlines is when you look at Instagram or Facebook, they give you about 2 sentences, and then you have to click the read more. And really within those 2 sentences, you want to pull them in so that they click on that read more, and they're going to read more and go through the rest of your content. So it's huge to just like pull them in right away and not just go off writing long sentences right away. Just kind of think about bolder headlines. So it's all about kind of the psychology of headlines, and these are just 4 different ways that you can draw someone in through engaging content. Questions are number 1. Questions that prime our curiosity are powerful for brain influencers. And so if we already know what the headline, if we already know from the headline what we're getting to next, our curiosity is going to be, kind of taken away and is going to stop before it even begins. And then people are just going to keep on scrolling. So maybe one way you could do it, and again, thinking about a restaurant, is what's one item you love most here at Arrow? A fan fave here is ... and then kind of people want to click down and read more and see what people are liking or what people like to eat at that restaurant. Then there's the curiosity. And basically, once a person knows a little, they want to find out a lot more. You see this happen a lot in the world of media. Kind of if you think about clickbait marketing, and you see a lot of these different news stations doing this. They want to pull you in to see, oh my gosh, is this happening right here in Rockford? And then you click on it and you go to the article and you're like, oh no, this happened in Alaska. It doesn't even pertain to us. And that's obviously clickbait marketing, but there's ways you can do it a little more authentically on your social media channels. So I do work for Prairie Fire in Byron, which is like a top golf kind of type of facility. So one way we could say that is Prairie Fire's new Top Tracer range is a big hit for pros and amateurs. The number of balls the range goes through on a daily basis will shock you. And then as you click to read more, you're going to learn that they have 70,000 balls they have at that range, and just some fun information, but it's just kind of getting their curiosity, kind of, they're going to stop and be like, I wonder what they're talking about. Or the one ingredient that makes our product the best is, and again, they kind of want to learn more and they're going to click and be curious, and that's going to help with your algorithms and your posting higher up than them just scrolling past and not even interacting. Then there's the element of surprise. Unpredicted pleasant things turn on the pleasure centers in our brain, and people kind of like to be surprised sometimes on social media. So maybe like, we have a little secret for you, ... Do you know what our best kept secret is, ... They're going to click on that read more and kind of draws them in. And lastly, catchy captions, which we're kind of talking about already through all of this, but it builds an opportunity to kind of build that relationship with your audience. And you saw that with Arrow and how we just kind of build those catchy captions, such as "This sandwich will change your life," with a fun little emoji, or "Sorry for being salty," and we're talking about the pretzel and you clearly see the salt on the pretzel, and it's just fun, it's catchy, if you have a brand and a business that you can kind of have some fun with it, definitely do it. And even if you have, not a restaurant that you're promoting, but you're a financial institute, there's so many ways you can still just kind of have some fun with it to draw people in with those headlines. And so there's kind of two types of captions that you can draw people in with, and it's conversion focused, and then there's the conversation focused. And basically the conversion focused kind of capitalizes on providing value through education, making them kind of showing that you're not trying to sell something, but you're trying to be of value to them. And you want to show that, we can help you. We're here to help you. And again, it just kind of builds that buyer trust instead of just saying, hey, we got decks for sale. Call our number and we'll help you get one installed. This is just showing more of a resource to kind of teach you a little bit more about decks. And then maybe they'll kind of dive in a little bit deeper and understand like, oh, they know what they're talking about. I'm going to give them a call to learn more about this whole process and how much it's going to cost me. So I just do some work with a state deck and fence, and it's just talking about, a composite deck versus a wood deck, things you should know between the two, what are the pros and the cons, and then you click more and you're going to read about the pros and the cons about both different decks. And there's a graphic that kind of draws them in to kind of understand what this post is all about. So that's kind of more of a conversion focused caption. And another book that I've just recently been reading, I haven't finished it yet, but a friend of mine told me about it. It's called Utility, Youtilty. And they focus on the difference between helping and selling and answering the question of how can we help. This guy was in the recession back in 2006, 2007. He sold pools, and clearly no one was going to buy a pool when they had no extra income. And so his business was going downhill, and he had to realize and learn what he should do to still attract an audience and still sell some pools. And so he decided to do a blog. Like every day he just focused his time and did a blog on 5 ways to clean your pool, 5 reasons you need a pool, 4 tips to, just those types of topics that helps him get higher in the SEO search rank because he has a ton of content on his website. But it shows that he's an expert, and he really had a lot of success with that. And it drew people in on the how we can help side of it, and then drew them into wanting to purchase a pool through him. So it's a great book. Like I said, I'm not finished completely, but definitely recommend it. Then there's the conversation focus, where it's kind of focused on storytelling, where people can relate, and making them ultimately want to share what you're saying or what you're posting and engage with your post. And so I just put mine out here. I did this little post, I think last year. I have just me and a photo. Talks about how last post I talked about sharing your story. Well, here's mine, and I kind of go into my story. And storytelling is huge, and we're going to get into that in a minute, but it just, people can relate with stories and with real, authentic people, and that's huge anymore in 2021. And so, like I said, the next tip in drawing engaging content is doing the storytelling. I came across this quote, which I thought was good. It's nothing sticks better in your head than a story. Stories can express the most complicated ideas in the most digestible ways. And this same goes for your social media channels and how you can kind of do some storytelling within your business, within your brand, as an individual. Some best practices for storytelling is in a sea of sameness, you got to be unforgettable. And obviously social media, there's a lot going on with social media, a lot of posts, a lot of people are sharing a lot of different information. So you just really have to stick out anymore. It's not enough just to have your quality, your product or your service out there. You need to differentiate your way, again, against the crowd. And that's where brand storytelling is so important right now in today's day and age. It's more than customers, you're building a tribe. So when crafting your message, you need to think about what your audience truly needs from you, whether it's just information about a deck and kind of differentiating between the 2 different materials, or learning about a wedding venue and what are the trends that are happening in 2021 for these brides that are looking for a venue this year. Apple does a good example of this too. They obviously sell technology and phones, but they want from the beginning, their audience needed to feel that it was okay and even encouraged to be brave, bold, and think differently from the crowd. So they're obviously not just selling their phones, but they're kind of selling that boldness, which kind of ties into what their phone has to offer. So it's just kind of coming at it a different way as a brand. And then be profitable and human, which means that we're wired to respond to stories, and a memorable brand story is exactly how you want someone to just feel connected to your business. So you just have to think about what makes your brand human. I mean, even if you're selling decks, you can really make your brand human and show the human side of it and the workers who are working hard to create that deck, or the designers who design that deck. There's ways to do it, even if you have a product that you think is not very enticing. And obviously with nonprofits, there's tons of ways to do this through your volunteer stories, through the stories you're helping, with these individuals that you're helping through your efforts. So here's just a few more ways for the storytelling side of it. Feature staff members. It's simple. You can kind of plug them in once a month and do a fun feature, post an authentic photo of them. I recommend no headshots, but an authentic picture of who they are doing what they love, maybe outside of work. Share a little bit about their story and who they are and why they work there at your company and what they like to do on their off time and why they feel like what they love best about working there. It's just an easy way to kind of tie the brand into a face and a real person kind of behind that brand. So obviously, even like there's some realtors on here, I know, and I work with a couple of realtors, and that's huge. It's kind of like that influencer marketing, and you just have to show off your authentic side. And sometimes that's hard. And I know from me owning my own company, I know I have to do it. And it's not easy because I don't like, being vulnerable like that. It's not really my style, but I know I need to every once in a while because it draws people into what I'm trying to say and do, and why it's, and I need to practice what I preach as well. And so I know it's hard, but it's something you really need to think about in 2021 and get a little bit more comfortable about it. And you don't have to put yourself out there every day, but you need to think of ways to kind of put yourself out there every couple weeks to tie in that you're a real human, that you're there to help, that you have expertise to provide to these people. Throwback Thursdays are always easy. If you have been in business for a while, or if you haven't, even from a few years ago, it's fun to kind of reflect back. People love older photos, and it just, again, makes you more real, and kind of reminds them why you got started. And you can kind of tell the story of why you started your business and why you started doing this, years ago. Encourage the boss to get vulnerable. I just kind of mentioned this, but let's say you work for a bigger company, and you're just in your suit and tie anymore, which anymore we're obviously not in suit and ties, but just showing them and who they are as a real life person. It just people can relate to the brand a little bit more, get a little more comfortable, understand what you're trying to sell, and whatnot. And then finding unique client stories to share is huge. And this is a big part of PR, obviously. You need a cool story to tell in order for that media outlet to pick it up. And then you can amplify that story times 100 on social media. So thinking about who could we highlight? When I was at Swedish American, obviously I did this like all day long, all week long. I would work with the healthcare staff and team to find those interesting patient stories, ones where, they lost 50 pounds, 100 pounds, and then they went to climb the Rocky Mountains. And because of the help of the doctors and a physical therapist, they were able to do this. And so those types of stories, people, again, can relate to it, they can feel it, they can share it and be inspired and share it with someone else who's maybe struggling. Just that shareable content and storytelling is huge. And it's something that we just have to think about and put into our social media strategies and PR strategies even this year. Number 4, obviously the next step is you have your good content and your headlines, and now you need your visuals and your graphics and your videos. They're all a must-have. You can't simply just post without a visual anymore. Sometimes you can, but you have to have some good visuals. So this is just one I want to show you, that which one is more appealing. So there's clearly one, this is a company or business I follow on social media that I won't name, but they write jumbo ravioli filled with shrimp and roasted garlic served with tomato basil cream sauce. That sounds delicious, but then I look at this one, and this is a bar in Byron, and they have this yummy burger that looks not healthy, but those cheese curds, I just want them right now. And it describes what's in it, and it has a fun, catchy headline, and I'm gonna go for that. Especially with food, you can just draw people in with good food pictures. And again, you don't need these professional photographers. While you certainly could use a photographer, you can easily do it on your iPhone with a portrait mode, or just don't make it off center. Just kind of try to hone in on it and get a good picture. And it's going to go over so much better than just a basic post. Authenticity is key, and I've talked to you about this already with storytelling, but being authentic is big, and sharing those authentic photos on social media is big. So there's one of me and my mom, and I obviously was on the beach way too long with nice red skin, but just showing you me and my mom. It's a throwback photo, and then me and my daughter, it's just a selfie we took, I think, in Old Navy. But it's just an authentic way to draw people in. It's not just this professional photograph of me and my mom and my daughter all posed perfectly. It's authentic, and people see that and get attracted to that. This wedding venue, here's 2 people working, obviously with their masks on. That's just now, we all wear our masks. This is how it is, and just showing that off in your business and how it's an authentic. This is them hard at work with their headsets on, they got their masks on, they're doing their work, and people can relate to it. Here's one, I thought maybe she was going to be on today, but New Fashion Sobriety. It's a girl I know up in Wisconsin, but it's all about promoting sobriety in women. And this was just an authentic post of this girl who's obviously doing great, staying sober, being active on the beach. Here's her dog. It's again, being authentic and kind of sharing that story, but pulling it in with just an authentic photo. And then you can just you need to be your own graphic designer, and we still certainly need graphic designers, but there's tools out there where you can easily hop on and create some visuals that aren't going to cost you an arm and a leg. And then you still need to hire graphic designers to help you with bigger pieces, or if you simply don't have the time to do it, you need to hire them and have them help you create content. But Canva is a great tool that probably most of you have heard about that you can easily use. There's a free version. There's maybe like $100 a year that you can purchase to get more images and fonts. But if you just simply put some text over graphics and you just kind of draw people in, it's just an easy way to, again, draw people into your post and want to learn more, and not just copying a post off the photo images that's all blurry and you're just pasting it. There's ways anymore that you can make it look professional without being so professional. And even I want to tie in PR. Same goes for PR and media, and they want videos anymore, and they want photos, and you can tie those into your press release and embed them into your press releases. That's huge anymore for the media. They want those authentic photos to put up on their newscasts or to tie in to social media and their social media posts. So same goes for the PR side of it as well. And then lastly, it's all about kind of keeping it fun and light. keep your content fun, but don't go overboard. And so what I want to talk about is kind of those emojis and then those memes, which I have big mixed feelings on, but we'll kind of talk about those. Emojis help distinguish your brand. And when you use that same consistent emoji in your posts, it kind of helps understand, oh, this is this brand. And you're not going overboard, but it's still just, it helps bring people in to what you're talking about. So using emojis sparingly is definitely okay. I mean, maybe like 4 years ago, I would have said no, but now that's just how it is. Use them to increase engagement. You know, comment below with your favorite meal here at Arrow, and you put the arrow or the down arrow, which helps just draw people like, oh, I should comment below. It just kind of helps people understand what they need to do or what this post is about. But don't go overboard. And when you're in a serious situation, don't use them. Just kind of keep them light and fun. And I'll show you some examples in just a minute. And then there's memes. And again, I have a little bit of mixed feelings about memes, but whenever I do a meme for a client, it gets so much engagement, which is crazy. But it has to really relate to what you're trying to say, and you don't want to use them every week. Just kind of tie them in once in a while to have a laugh, get a share, because people are going to share those different types of memes, but they do have a short lifespan. So they're not a piece of content that's just going to last forever. And you don't want to try too hard with them too. They need to really relate to your business, or don't do it at all. And then content first, memes second. So you need to, even you put a meme up there, you've got to put a little piece of content with it, which I'll show you right now. So here are some. We'll start at the top left. It's a bar in Byron, and we obviously took advantage of that Bernie Sanders meme, and that's kind of a trending topic, a trending meme. And if you don't get on it within the first couple of days, you're going to be kind of old news. So it was just one that we just got on it right away. We thought we could have some fun with it. You know, we put, well, he finally made it into the cave. Time to warm up, Bern. It's Friday. So it got a lot of engagement on Instagram. I think Facebook had a ton more engagement on it. You'll see Jimmy John's, you versus the guy she's telling you not to worry about. They have their beefy sandwich and then just their plain bread. It's just a fun little way. It's their product. And then you have this funny meme, help me, I'm poor. And I forget her name. I should know her name, but she's hilarious in general. And they're obviously talking about, if this is you, you better fill out your FAFSA. And then I have a realtor I work with, and this is kind of a funny one I came across about a client expectation versus a client budget. Obviously just talking about champagne tastes on a beer budget, and we've all been there. And that got a ton of engagement too. And it's just kind of funny and light. And then this wedding venue I work with, this is just kind of showing you the different emojis you can kind of see. We always put a tree and this leafy emoji in every time we kind of talk about it, and it kind of helps differentiate that's their brand, because they're an outdoor wedding venue with lots of lush trees and whatnot. So those are just some ways to tie in emojis and to tie in different memes. So this is what I talked about in a nutshell, talking about when we're talking about engaging headlines and content. You need to really develop your voice. You need to learn who your audience is first. You need to create those engaging headlines that are going to draw people in to click that read more button. Storytelling is a must in 2021. Graphics and visuals are a must in 2021. And then having some fun doesn't hurt. And then lastly, I just want to talk about some trends that I've been learning about and reading about a lot. And just go through these quick before we kind of end it and have some questions. But anymore, social media is a part of everyone's job. Long live the days of you only could check your social media at lunchtime. I remember even at Swedish America, not even that long ago, we couldn't be on it all the time, which is understandable, but now it's a part of everyone's job. From the maintenance man to the CEO, the maintenance guys, they're taking behind the scene pictures and sending them to you so that you can post them on your social media page and kind of show that your business as a real, authentic, kind of behind the scenes post. So it's everyone's job. You need to have kind of everyone, all hands on board, taking pictures. They can have ideas, like everyone's a marketer. But you need maybe have that one person who's going to consistently post and have that consistent brand. Returning to intimacy is huge for 2021, and 2020 obviously kind of triggered all of this and taught us a lot, because we obviously couldn't be intimate. We couldn't see people face to face. We only could see people digitally, and we're still in that world. And so returning to intimacy is huge. Again, that's shifting more towards the non-polished look and the more authentic way, showing off the behind the scenes look of your brand. Like I mentioned, just getting intimate through storytelling is huge and is going to continue to shift into this year. User-generated content is going to continue to grow. Brands want that authentic, that trustworthy source, real life experiences. So stories on social media, on Facebook and Instagram, stories are just going to keep rising to the top, and that's a authentic, real-time way that you can share kind of what you're doing. Maybe you're a realtor and you're on site about to put the sold sign in a yard. You do a quick video and you post it to your stories, and it's just an authentic way for people to kind of come into your brand and who you are. TikTok is one of these platforms that we'll see where that goes, but that's another way to kind of have that user-generated content. So I'm at a TikTok's fine, but I don't know for businesses necessarily you need to be on it. But we'll see. It's probably going to shift a lot even in the next year. Being creative is key. 2020 taught us that. We have to get creative in that content and what we're pushing out there. We can't just be boring old posts. It's got to stand out from the crowd. Videos are one way of getting creative. That's huge, and video content is just going to keep on rising as well. Creating shareable and relatable content, and any more with the algorithms. When you had a like on your post, that was big, but now when you get a share, that helps you rank even higher in the algorithms. So storytelling is a perfect way where people can relate to it. They're going to share it to a friend. It's going to go a lot further. Taking a stance, we saw that a lot in 2020 with the presidential race, Black Lives Matter, women's rights. That's not going to end, but this is where it just gets a little touchy. You need to determine as a brand or your business if you're going to take a stance. Usually we recommend no, because that comes into a whole PR dilemma too. Or if you feel like that you want to take a stance, you should. I mean, a lot of brands have this year, and it's probably not going to change. So you really need to think and work with your team if you want to take a stance on trending topics and put out posts when things are trending. So that's something that you need to kind of figure out as a business and a brand. And then the rise of groups, especially on Facebook groups. It's just it's a private way to kind of customize their experience and get more deep with someone on a certain topic. And there's a lot of businesses that are creating their own Facebook groups, being a source on different topics, but that it does take up a lot of your time, and you have to kind of think through that strategy and how you can manage a Facebook group for your business. So I just want to share a few things that I read about and hear about for 2020 as well, in addition just to social media, PR, and how they tie together and how you have to tie them together anymore. They don't just remain this separate entities. And just, again, ways to draw people into your post so they're not going to stop. They're going to come in and they're going to want to learn more about your brand. So that's all I have for today. Obviously, if you have questions, we can go through those. And then here's my contact info. Feel free to reach out to me if you guys have any questions or need help. I'm here to help.
Thank you, Katryna. I know a lot of you jumped in on the call during the presentation. So if there are any questions, since we have a lot of people on the call, which is awesome, please type them in the chat. I'm going to go over our presentation for next week while we're waiting for questions in the chat. And I believe we have Chris on with us. Chris Wacoliak from Ronan Branding will be our presenter for next week. And the topic will be building a bold brand for your business. Perspective plus purpose equals profit. So that will be another must-attend event, and that will be next Thursday at 11 a.m. Right here with our virtual classroom. You can find us on SBDC on Facebook and Rockford SBDC on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And also to learn more about our upcoming classrooms, we're going to have a lot of classrooms to announce in April, so watch for that. It's rockfordsbdc.org, Rockford Small Business Development Center.org for more information on those upcoming training sessions. And I see that, let me see if we have some questions in here. There are people that are thanking you, Katryna.
Welcome.
Presentation.
Thanks again for having me on here and for listening. I hope it was helpful.
Yes. Does anyone have any questions? I don't see any questions in the chat.
Must have covered it all.
You must have covered it all. Okay. Well, everyone, again, thank you so much for attending the Small Business Development Center at Rockford Chamber. We are a resource for small businesses, confidential business guidance, training, and other resources for startups and existing businesses. Thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you next week.